The hall was drenched in an air of ceremony, though beneath the chandeliers and polished marble floors ran an invisible current of tension. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the ambitious and commanding heir of Saudi Arabia, had convened a private summit with select African leaders. His intentions were cloaked in the language of partnership and shared prosperity. But every leader present understood the undertone: dominance, influence, and control. At the far end of the oval table sat Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. He was the youngest in the room, dressed not in royal silks or Western suits, but in his military uniform, plain, simple, and deliberate. His presence alone was a statement. He had no desire to impress. His only goal was to represent the voice of his people. The room quieted as MBS rose to speak. His voice was calm but carried a weight of arrogance that could not be disguised. "Africa is too rich to remain untamed," he declared, scanning the table. "Your nations sit on treasures, oil, gold, land, people, and treasures must be managed, directed, and guided by those with the vision to do so. Resistance," he added with a faint smile, "only delays the inevitable. You can choose to join a future of wealth and order under our leadership, or you can be left in the chaos of your own making." The words hung in the air like smoke, suffocating, calculated. A few leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some pretending to study their notes to avoid eye contact. The unspoken threat was clear: submission or marginalization. But Ibrahim Traoré did not move. He did not frown, nor did he glance away. He simply stared at the Crown Prince with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of his authority. Minutes passed before he spoke, and when he did, his voice was thunderous, shaking the marble walls with its conviction. "You speak of treasures," Traoré began, his French accented English sharp and deliberate, "but you see only gold, only oil, only what can be stolen and sold. Africa's true treasure is not beneath its soil but within its people, the dignity of men and women who refuse to kneel." The room stiffened. The other leaders looked up. MBS's expression froze, his smile faltering ever so slightly. "You imagine that power comes from wealth," Traoré continued, his tone rising, "but we have learned through colonization, through slavery, through decades of exploitation that power built on chains is an illusion. You may hold a sword, but a sword cannot cut the will of a people determined to be free. And you," he pointed directly at MBS, "will not be the first to learn this lesson, but perhaps the loudest." Gasps echoed across the hall. One or two aides instinctively moved closer to the Crown Prince, unsure whether to intervene. Cameras, meant to record only diplomatic smiles, now captured something raw and dangerous. MBS straightened his shoulders. His voice, though still calm, carried a defensive edge. "You misunderstand. Me, Captain. I offer partnership, not subjugation. Leadership, not chains." Traoré slammed his palm on the table. The sharp sound reverberated like a gunshot. "Partnership," he thundered. "Partnership is when equals sit at the same table and eat from the same plate. What you offer is a leash disguised as gold. And Africa has worn enough chains. No more." The room erupted into murmurs. Some leaders exchanged nervous glances. Others silently nodded, their hearts ignited by Traoré's defiance. MBS leaned forward, his tone icy. "Do not mistake bold words for strength. Nations fall not by bullets but by hunger, by isolation, by poverty. Can you withstand the storm if you reject those who hold the wealth of the world?" Traoré stood slowly, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. He did not raise his voice this time. Instead, he lowered it to a solemn gravity that carried more weight than a shout. "Hunger cannot break a people who still believe in their dignity. Isolation cannot defeat a continent that has survived centuries of betrayal. Poverty cannot chain a soul that refuses to sell itself. You ask if we can withstand the storm. I tell you this: we are the storm." The words struck the room like thunder. Silence followed, deep and unshakable. Even those who had doubted Traoré felt a fire awaken inside them. A leader from West Africa, sitting near the end of the table, whispered under his breath, "This is history." Another, older statesman from Central Africa, clenched his fist against his chest in silent solidarity. MBS, though outwardly composed, could not mask the slight tremor in his hand as he adjusted his cuff. His authority had been challenged, not by an army, but by a voice that refused to bow. The meeting ended with formalities, but the atmosphere had shifted. No agreements were signed, no documents sealed. Yet something far greater had been written, a moment of defiance, etched into the collective memory of those who witnessed it. That night, the words of Ibrahim Traoré spread beyond the marble walls of the hall. Whispers became echoes, and echoes became a roar across the continent. Markets, streets, and villages repeated his declaration, "We are the storm." For the people of Africa, it was not just rhetoric. It was a reminder that no empire, no prince, no wealth could extinguish the fire of sovereignty once it was lit. And though MBS returned to his kingdom with his power intact, he carried a shadow with him, the shadow of a soldier who spoke like a mountain, and whose thunder could not be silenced. In that clash of voices, no armies marched, no weapons fired. Yet the world had witnessed a battle as real as any fought on the field. The battle for dignity, for independence, for the right to stand tall. And on that day, it was not the crown prince of a wealthy kingdom who commanded the room. It was the young captain from Burkina Faso who dared to remind the world that freedom has no price.